She screamed, "I need space. Go stay at a hotel for a month so I can breathe." I replied, "I'll do better than that." I went to the leasing office, paid the fee to break my half of the lease, and moved out permanently. When the landlord knocked on her door demanding the full rent she couldn't afford. Posted this on another sub, but they said it belonged here. Background. Me 28M, been with Caroline 27F for about 2 years. We moved in together 8 months ago in this decent apartment downtown. Split everything 50-50, which seemed fair since we both work. I'm in warehouse management, she does something with social media for small businesses. Now Caroline's always been a bit dramatic. Not crazy dramatic, but like everything's either amazing or terrible with her. No middle ground. At first I thought it was cute, but after living together it got old fast. Every small problem became this huge crisis that needed immediate attention. The apartment thing was her idea. She found this place online and was obsessed with it. 2-bedroom, nice area, but definitely pricey. I told her it was pushing our budget, but she really wanted it. Said we could make it work if we were careful with spending. Famous last words. First few months were okay. We had the usual adjustment stuff, learning to live together. She leaves dishes everywhere. I'm apparently too loud in the mornings, whatever. Normal couple stuff. But then her spending started getting out of control. Caroline has this thing where she needs to buy stuff when she's stressed. New clothes, makeup, home decor, random kitchen gadgets she'll never use. I'm talking like $400 shopping trips twice a week. When I brought it up, she said I was being controlling and that she worked hard for her money. Fine, whatever. But then she started hinting that I should cover more of the rent and utilities, since I made slightly more than her. Not a lot more, but enough that she thought it was unfair we split everything equally. I told her we agreed on 50-50 when we moved in, and that wasn't changing. That's when the real problems started. She began doing this thing where she'd create drama right before rent was due. Suddenly, we'd be fighting about something stupid, and she'd be too upset to deal with money stuff. Guess who ended up paying the full rent 3 months in a row while she sorted out her feelings? Yeah, I know I should have put a stop to it earlier, but I figured it was temporary stress from work. She kept saying things would settle down once she got her client situation figured out. Spoiler alert, they never did. Last month was the breaking point. She came home with like 6 bags from Target, talking about how she needed new bedding and curtains to feel comfortable in our space. Spent almost $300 on stuff we didn't need. This was 2 days before rent was due. I asked her where her half of the rent money was, and she got defensive. Said she'd been working extra hard lately and deserved to treat herself. Then she hit me with this look like I was supposed to just handle it because I'm the man or something. Not happening. I told her she needed to return the stuff and get her money back for rent. She flipped out, saying I was being unsupportive and controlling her spending. We had this huge fight where she accused me of trying to change her and not accepting who she was. The whole thing was exhausting. She ended up putting her half on a credit card, which stressed her out even more. Then she was mad at me for making her go into debt, like somehow it was my fault she spent rent money on garbage. Last week, things got worse. Her job was stressing her out because apparently one of her clients was being difficult. Caroline deals with stress by making it everyone else's problem. She was picking fights about everything. How I loaded the dishwasher, where I put my shoes when I got home, the way I breathed too loud while she was watching TV. I tried being understanding at first, but it was getting ridiculous. Every conversation turned into an argument. She'd find something wrong with everything I did, then get mad when I pointed out she was being unreasonable. Last Tuesday, she had a total meltdown because I ate some leftovers that she was apparently saving for lunch. They'd been in the fridge for 4 days, and she hadn't mentioned anything about saving them. But somehow I was supposed to read her mind. She screamed at me for 20 minutes about how I never consider her feelings and how living with me was suffocating her creativity. Over leftover Chinese food. That's when I started wondering if this relationship had run its course. Thursday was the final straw. She came home already in a bad mood because her client meeting went poorly. I was on the couch watching TV after work, trying to relax. She walked in, slammed her purse down, and immediately started complaining about everything. The apartment was too messy, even though I'd cleaned that morning. I was watching TV too loud, even though it was barely audible. I hadn't asked about her day, even though she'd literally just walked in. Everything was my fault somehow. I tried to calm her down, but that made her angrier. She said I was dismissing her feelings and not taking her stress seriously. Then she started pacing around the living room, gesturing wildly, talking about how she couldn't handle this anymore. That's when she dropped the bomb. Said she needed space to figure things out. Not a breakup necessarily, but time apart to evaluate our relationship. She wanted me to stay at a hotel for a month while she had the apartment to herself. I just stared at her. A month in a hotel because she needed space. In the apartment, I was paying half the rent for. You want me to pay for a hotel room for a month so you can have space in our apartment? I said, it's not about the money, it's about giving me room to breathe and think clearly. Where exactly am I supposed to get money for a hotel room while still paying my half of rent here? I don't know, figure it out. Maybe you can stay with friends or something. Right? So I should either impose on friends for a month or blow through my savings paying for 2 places to live while she figured out her feelings in the apartment I was helping pay for. That's not happening, Caroline. Why are you being so difficult about this? I'm trying to save our relationship. By kicking me out of my own place? It's not kicking you out, it's temporary space. If you cared about us, you'd understand. That's when I realized this whole thing was just another one of her manipulation tactics. Create a crisis, make unreasonable demands, then act like I was the problem when I said no. I was done playing these games. You know what, you're right, I said. You do need space. Her face lit up like she'd won something. Really? You understand? Absolutely. In fact, I'll do you one better than a month. Before she could ask what I meant, I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. She called after me asking where I was going, but I didn't answer. I had some business to take care of. First stop was the leasing office. It was almost closing time, but I made it with like 10 minutes to spare. Asked to speak with the property manager about breaking my lease early. The manager, Patricia, was pretty cool about it. Said it happens all the time with couples. There was an early termination fee of 2 months' rent for my portion, and I'd need to give 48 hours notice, but I could be off the lease by the end of the week if I wanted. I did the math in my head. 2 months of my half was $1,800. Way cheaper than a month in a hotel, plus continuing to pay rent for someone who wanted me gone. Plus I'd be free of this whole toxic situation. Let's do it, I told Patricia. She printed out the paperwork and I signed everything. Paid the fee with my credit card, and just like that, I was no longer responsible for that apartment. Patricia said she'd notify Caroline about the change in lease status within 24 hours. Next stop was my buddy Andrew's place. We've been friends since college, and he's always said I could crash at his place if I needed to. He's got a spare room that he mostly uses for storage anyway. Andrew took one look at my face and knew something was up. I explained the whole situation and asked if his offer still stood. He said absolutely, and helped me make a plan to get my stuff out of the apartment. We decided to do it the next day while Caroline was at work. Get everything out clean and simple, no drama. Andrew even offered to help with his truck. I drove back to the apartment around 8. Caroline was in the kitchen making dinner, acting like everything was normal. She asked where I'd gone, and I told her I was handling the space situation like she wanted. She seemed satisfied with that answer and started talking about how good this was going to be for both of us. How she'd be able to focus on herself and figure out what she really wanted. I just nodded and went to bed. Friday morning, I waited until Caroline left for work, then called in sick to my job. Andrew showed up around 9 with his truck, and we got to work. Most of my stuff was still in boxes anyway, since we'd only been living together 8 months. Clothes, electronics, my furniture from before we moved in together, all the kitchen stuff that was actually mine. Took us about 3 hours to get everything packed up. I left my tea on the counter with a note. The note just said I was giving her all the space she wanted and that she'd be hearing from the leasing office soon about the lease situation. Nothing dramatic, just the facts. Andrew helped me get everything set up in his spare room. It's actually pretty nice, bigger than I expected, and he only wanted $300 a month for utilities and stuff. Way better deal than I was getting with Caroline. That evening, my phone started going crazy. Texts, calls, voicemails from Caroline asking what the hell I was doing and where all my stuff went. I didn't answer any of them. She wanted space. She was getting space. Saturday morning, Patricia from the leasing office called Caroline to inform her about the lease change. That's when the real panic started. Turns out Caroline had no idea how much the full rent actually was or what happens when someone breaks a lease early. The apartment was $1,800 a month. Caroline had been paying $900, thinking that was expensive. Now she was looking at the full amount, plus having to qualify for the lease on her own income. My phone was ringing nonstop. Caroline was freaking out, saying I couldn't just abandon her like this, that we needed to talk and figure things out like adults. Funny how she wanted to communicate now that there were actual consequences. I finally answered one of her calls Sunday evening. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed before I could even say hello. "I gave you the space you wanted. I meant temporary space, not you moving out completely and screwing me over. You said you needed time to think without me around. Problem solved. I can't afford this place on my own, you know that? Sounds like something you should have considered before demanding I leave." She started crying then, said she didn't mean it like that, and I was taking everything too literally. This was supposed to be about saving our relationship, not ending it. "Caroline, you told me to leave our apartment for a month so you could figure out your feelings. What exactly did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd stay with friends or something, and we'd work through this. While I paid rent on a place I wasn't allowed to live in. It was just going to be temporary. Yeah, well, now it's permanent. You got exactly what you asked for." She begged me to come back and fix the lease situation, said she'd learned her lesson and we could work things out. But I was done. This wasn't the first time she'd created some crisis to get her way, and it wouldn't be the last. I told her I was moving on and hung up, blocked her number and all her social media accounts. Time to close this chapter. Monday morning, Andrew told me he'd run into Patricia at the grocery store. Apparently, Caroline had been to the leasing office trying to get me added back to the lease. Patricia had explained that I'd legally terminated my responsibility and couldn't be forced back on without signing new paperwork. Andrew said Patricia mentioned that Caroline had also tried to break her portion of the lease, but couldn't afford the early termination fee. She was stuck paying full rent until the lease ended in 4 months, or finding someone to take over. Andrew said Patricia had mentioned that getting a roommate was complicated because the lease was in both our names originally. Adding someone new would require credit checks and approval from the landlord. Plus, most people don't want to jump into a 4-month lease with a stranger. Caroline could try to sublease, but she'd still be responsible if the subletter didn't pay. Tuesday, Caroline showed up at Andrew's place. I wasn't home, but Andrew said she seemed pretty desperate. She'd left a letter asking me to call her and fix this mess. The letter went straight into the trash. By Wednesday, reality was setting in for her. She'd have to pay full rent on Friday, and her bank account couldn't handle it. Her credit cards were already maxed from her shopping habits, and she didn't qualify for any loans. Thursday, she tried calling from different numbers hoping I'd pick up. When that didn't work, she got one of her friends to call pretending it was an emergency. I recognized the friend's voice and hung up immediately. Friday came and went. Andrew heard from a mutual friend that Caroline had managed to scrape together enough for rent, but just barely. She'd apparently borrowed money from her parents and was not happy about having to explain the situation to them. The following week, Caroline tried reaching out through mutual friends. They all got the same story about how I'd abandoned her in a crisis and left her financially screwed. Most of them knew Caroline well enough to see through the manipulation, but a couple thought I was being harsh. I didn't really care what people thought. I knew the truth, and so did the people who mattered. Caroline had created this situation by demanding something unreasonable, then getting mad when there were consequences. Andrew said he'd heard through the grapevine that Caroline was struggling to make ends meet. She'd cut back on her shopping and was actually cooking at home instead of ordering takeout every night. Apparently, having to pay full rent was a real wake-up call. 3 weeks later, I heard she'd found someone to sublease my old room. Some girl from her work who needed a place short-term. But the subletter had rules about cleanliness and splitting expenses that Caroline wasn't used to dealing with. Last I heard, the subletting situation wasn't working out great. Caroline wasn't used to having someone call her out on her mess and spending habits. Turns out, when you're not in a relationship with someone, they're less likely to enable your bad behavior. Meanwhile, I'm doing great at Andrew's place. We've known each other for years, so living together is easy. No drama, no walking on eggshells, no fighting about stupid stuff. I can actually relax when I get home from work. I've been saving money too. Even with helping Andrew with his mortgage, my monthly expenses are way lower than they were with Caroline. Turns out not subsidizing someone else's shopping addiction is good for the bank account. Best part is the peace and quiet. No more manufactured crises, no more fights about nothing, no more feeling like I have to manage someone else's emotions all the time. Just normal adult life without the constant chaos. Looking back, the whole thing was a blessing in disguise. Caroline did me a huge favor by showing me exactly who she was and what living with her long-term would look like. Better to find out after 8 months than 8 years. She wanted space to figure out what she wanted. Turns out what she wanted was someone to subsidize her lifestyle while putting up with her drama. When that option disappeared, she had to face reality for the first time. Sometimes the best response to unreasonable demands is to give someone exactly what they asked for. Caroline learned that lesson the hard way, and I learned that I'm better off without someone who sees our relationship as a financial safety net. The apartment lease ends next month. Word is Caroline's planning to move back in with her parents since she can't afford a place on her own. Full circle, I guess. As for me, I'm thinking about getting my own place soon. Something smaller and cheaper where I can actually build up my savings instead of burning through them on someone else's bad decisions. Life's too short to spend it managing other people's manufactured drama. Sometimes you just gotta walk away and let them figure it out on their own. She smashed my windshield because I didn't text back fast enough. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best, I replied. I don't want your best. Then I called the police. She screamed from the cop car, "This isn't what Marilyn Monroe meant." My girlfriend Brittany had a favorite quote. You've probably seen it on Instagram, maybe on a wine glass, definitely on a throw pillow somewhere. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Marilyn Monroe. Except Marilyn Monroe never said it. It's a misattributed quote that's become the battle cry of people who use it to justify terrible behavior. And Brittany? She used it constantly. Left me on read for 6 hours while she was out with friends? If you can't handle me at my worst. Forgot my birthday? If you can't handle me at my worst. Started an argument in a Target over which brand of paper towels to buy. If you can't handle me at my worst. Threw my Xbox controller against the wall because I said I needed to finish a work project instead of watching a movie with her. Marilyn Monroe said it best. If you can't handle me at my worst. The controller was $65 to replace, by the way. She never paid me back. I should have ended it after the first month. But she was fun when things were good. The problem was good kept getting shorter and worst kept getting longer. Month 1, 80% good, 20% worst. Month 3, 60% good, 40% worst. Month 6, 30% good, 70% worst. Month 8, I was just surviving. My friends tried to warn me, dude, she's crazy, my friend Mike said over beers one night. She's not crazy, she's just passionate. She keyed your car a few months ago. That was a misunderstanding. She carved "text me back" into your driver's door. She apologized. Did she pay for it? No, that's my point. He was right. I knew he was right, but I kept making excuses. The final straw came on a Tuesday. I was at work, software developer. Sometimes I'm in meetings, sometimes I'm heads down coding and don't check my phone for hours. This is normal. This is my job. Brittany knew this. Didn't stop her from texting me 17 times in 90 minutes. Hey, hello? Are you ignoring me? Why aren't you answering? This is ridiculous. You're probably texting other girls. I can't believe you. You know what? Forget it. I'm done. We're done. Don't even bother responding. Actually respond. Respond, fine. Wow. I finished my meeting at 3 p.m., checked my phone, 17 messages, all in caps toward the end. I texted back. Was in a meeting. What's up? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Too late. Too late for what? You'll see. That's never good. I called her. Straight to voicemail. Texted again. No response. I had a bad feeling. Got in my car at 5:30 to head home. Walked through the parking garage to my space. My windshield was gone. Not cracked, not shattered with glass everywhere. Gone. Like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it and completely demolished it. Safety glass in a million pieces covering my dashboard, my seats, the ground. The entire windshield was just absent. There was a note on my steering wheel, written in lipstick. Her lipstick. The expensive Sephora one she made me buy her last month. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. She signed it, MM, as if she was Marilyn Monroe. I stood there, looking at my destroyed car, looking at the note, looking at the glass everywhere. Then I pulled out my phone, called the non-emergency police line. Hi, I'd like to report vandalism. Someone destroyed my car windshield. Are you in danger? No, I'm at work. Came out and found it. Do you know who did it? Yes, my girlfriend. Your girlfriend destroyed your windshield? Yes. Why? I didn't text her back fast enough. Long pause. Sir, I'm sending an officer. Officer Martinez showed up 20 minutes later. Young guy, probably late 20s. Took one look at my car and whistled. Damn, she really went for it. She did. You said your girlfriend did this? Yes. You sure? I showed him the note, the lipstick signature, the text messages, the progression from hey to you'll see. He took photos, lots of photos. Called a second officer for backup documentation. You want to press charges? Absolutely. You understand this could lead to her arrest? I understand. Criminal mischief. Possibly criminal damage to property depending on the cost of the windshield. Could be a misdemeanor or low-level felony depending on the amount. How much are we talking? What kind of car? 2022 Honda Civic. Windshield replacement is probably $800 to $1,000. With the labor and the premium glass, could hit $1,200. That puts it in felony territory in this state if it's over $1,000. Then I definitely want to press charges. He nodded. We'll need to locate her and take her statement. She lives with me, apartment on 5th and Main. You want to come with us? We'll need you to provide a statement at the station anyway. Can I drive this? He looked at my car. No windshield, glass everywhere. Absolutely not. That's a safety hazard. You'd get pulled over in 3 blocks. I'll call a tow truck. Good idea. I called my insurance. They sent a tow to take the car to their approved repair shop. Sent me a rental car voucher. Then I got in the back of Officer Martinez's patrol car and we drove to my apartment. Brittany's car was in the parking lot. We went upstairs. I unlocked the door. She was on the couch, eating ice cream, watching Netflix, like nothing happened. Specifically, she was watching The Notebook. Because of course she was. She saw me, then saw the cop behind me. What's going on? Officer Martinez stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm Officer Martinez. Are you Brittany Walsh? Yes. We're here regarding an incident involving vandalism. Specifically, the destruction of a vehicle windshield belonging to, he checked his notes, David Chen. I don't know what you're talking about. I almost laughed. Her lipstick was still on the coffee table, the same shade as the note. You don't know anything about a destroyed windshield? Nope. Martinez held up his phone, showed her the photo of the note, the lipstick, the MM signature. This looked familiar. Her eyes went to the lipstick on the table, then back to Martinez, then to me. Her face changed, from confused to defiant in about 2 seconds. And there it is. Ma'am, do you know how long I waited for a text back? 90 minutes. 90 minutes of being ignored. Do you know how that feels? Ma'am, that doesn't give you the right. Men used to go to war. They used to fight battles. And he can't even text me back? What kind of man ignores his girlfriend for 90 minutes? Martinez looked at me. You were in a work meeting? Yeah. Software development. We do deep focus coding sessions. Can't be on our phones. See? Martinez turned back to her. He was working. He could have texted me before the meeting. Did you know he had a meeting? I asked. That's not the point. That's exactly the point, Martinez said. You destroyed his property because you felt ignored. That's illegal. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. That's what Marilyn Monroe said. Ma'am, Marilyn Monroe never actually said. Yes, she did. It's a famous quote. It's everywhere. It's on mugs and pillows and it's fake, Martinez said. That quote is widely misattributed. There's no record of Monroe ever saying it. She stared at him. What? The quote is fake. It originated from a random blog post in 2011. That's not true. It is. You can Google it. I don't care. The point is, he can't just ignore me and expect no consequences. Ma'am, the consequence of ignoring a text message is not having your windshield destroyed. That's illegal. Well, maybe men should learn to text back. Martinez looked at me, then at her, then back at me. Sir, how long were you dating her? 8 months. And this is typical behavior. Unfortunately, has she destroyed your property before? She keyed my car 3 months ago, carved text me back into the driver's door. Brittany jumped in. That was different. He didn't text me back for 3 hours. Ma'am, please stop talking. I had every right. No, you didn't. He turned back to Brittany. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come down to the station with us. Why? Because you just admitted to committing criminal mischief. Based on the extent of the damage, we're looking at significant charges. Her face went white. Charges? Criminal damage to property. The actual charge level, misdemeanor or felony, will be determined by the prosecutor based on the documented repair cost. But you admitted to destroying his vehicle, and from what I saw, that's substantial damage. I'm not going anywhere. Ma'am, you can come voluntarily, or I can place you under arrest. Your choice. This is insane. Over a windshield? Over deliberate destruction of property that you've admitted to. He probably deserved it. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stand up and place your hands behind your back. You're arresting me? Yes, ma'am. For what? I just explained. This is ridiculous. She stood up. Martinez cuffed her. Read her Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. She did not remain silent. This is abuse. He's abusing me. I'm the victim here. Ma'am, you destroyed his property. Because he was ignoring me. That's not abuse. Emotional abuse. He was emotionally abusing me by not texting back. Martinez looked exhausted. Ma'am, you need to stop talking. They walked her down to the patrol car. She was yelling the entire way. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Martinez put her in the back seat. Closed the door. She was still yelling, muffled now. This isn't what Marilyn Monroe meant. He turned to me. You want to come give your statement now? Yeah. We drove to the station, Brittany yelling the entire way, something about how I was going to regret this, how she was the best thing that ever happened to me, how I'd never find anyone like her again. That last part was the goal. At the station, I gave my full statement, timeline of the texts, the meeting I was in, coming out to find my car destroyed, the note, everything. They processed Brittany, took her fingerprints, mugshot, the whole thing. She was screaming from the holding cell. You don't deserve my best. You don't deserve me. I called back to her. I don't want your best. What? I said I don't want your best. Keep it. More screaming. Detective Williams tried not to smile. A detective named Williams took over the case. Older guy. Probably seen everything. How long you been together? 8 months. This her first time destroying your property? No. She keyed my car 3 months ago when I didn't respond to a text for 3 hours. You report that? No. She apologized, said she'd never do it again, gave me the Marilyn Monroe quote. The worst and best thing? Yeah. You know Marilyn Monroe never said that, right? I do now. It's from a random person's blog in 2011. People just slapped Monroe's name on it and it went viral. That actually makes a lot of sense. Williams took notes. We'll need to get the actual repair estimate before the prosecutor files formal charges. Arraignment scheduled for day after tomorrow at 2 p.m. That'll be preliminary charges, criminal mischief. Once we have the dollar amount documented, prosecutor will amend if it hits felony threshold. How much for felony? Over $1,000 in this state. 2 days later, the repair shop sent me the official estimate. Windshield replacement for a 2022 Honda Civic with all the sensors and cameras, $1,247.82. I forwarded it to Detective Williams. He called me within an hour. Got your estimate. $1,247. That's over the threshold. Prosecutors amending the charges to criminal damage to property in the third degree, Class E felony. Good. She gonna make bail? How much is bail? For a felony property damage, probably $5,000. She needs 10%, $500 cash. She doesn't have $500. Then she's staying in custody until arraignment. Good. He raised an eyebrow. You sound relieved. I am. Gives me time to pack her stuff and change the locks. You live together? My apartment, my name on the lease. She moved in 4 months ago. You'll need to do a formal eviction, even though she just committed a felony against me? Unfortunately, yes, she's established residency. You need to give her 30 days notice or go through the courts. So she can come back and destroy more of my stuff? You can get a restraining order. That would keep her out immediately. How do I do that? File tomorrow. Judge can grant a temporary order same day if there's evidence of property damage or threats, which you have. I'll file tomorrow. I went home, packed all her stuff, boxes in the living room, changed the locks. Cost me $150 for an emergency locksmith at 9 p.m. Worth it. The next morning I went to the courthouse, filed for a restraining order, included the police report, photos of my windshield, screenshots of her threatening texts, the lipstick note. Judge granted a temporary restraining order within 2 hours, effective immediately. Brittany was not allowed within 500 feet of me, my home, or my workplace. 2 days after her arrest, her arraignment happened at 2 p.m. By then, the prosecutor had received my repair estimate and upgraded the charges to felony. I showed up to watch. She was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. Hair a mess, no makeup, looking miserable. The judge read the charges. Criminal damage to property in the third degree. How do you plead? Her public defender whispered to her. Not guilty. Bail is set at $5,000, 10% cash. Your Honor, her lawyer stood up. My client doesn't have the means to post bail. Then she'll remain in custody until trial. Your Honor, this is her first offense. This is her first charge. According to the police report, she has a history of property damage against the victim. Brittany started crying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just upset. Ma'am, you need to be quiet. He ignored me for 90 minutes. Ma'am, if you can't handle me at my... The judge banged his gavel. Ma'am, if you continue, I will hold you in contempt. She shut up. Trial is set for 6 weeks from today. Defendant will remain in custody. Her lawyer tried to argue. Judge wasn't having it. They took her back. As she was being led out, she saw me in the gallery. David, tell them it was a mistake. I didn't mean it. I didn't say anything. Please, I'm sorry. Still nothing. You don't deserve my best anyway. There it is. 6 weeks later, I showed up for trial. Turns out I wasn't the only victim. The prosecutor had found 2 other guys, ex-boyfriends, both with similar stories. Guy number 1 took the stand first. His name was Dr. James Park, cardiothoracic surgeon. Park, can you describe your relationship with the defendant? We dated for about 4 months last year. And how did that relationship end? She slashed all 4 of my tires. Can you describe the circumstances? I was in surgery, emergency bypass. The patient was coding. I had my phone in my locker, obviously. When I came out 6 hours later, I had 83 text messages from Brittany. 83? Yes. Starting with hey and escalating to threats. The last one said, you'll regret ignoring me. And what happened? I went to my car after my shift. All 4 tires were slashed. There was a note on my windshield written in lipstick. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. MM. Did you report this? Yes, but by the time I did, she'd left the state. Moved here, apparently. I couldn't pursue charges across state lines for a misdemeanor. The tires cost me $900. Thank you, Dr. Park. The prosecutor presented photos, police report from California, the lipstick note, the text message history. Guy number 2 was next. Marcus Williams. Accountant. Mr. Williams, how did you know the defendant? We met on a dating app. Went on 3 dates. 3 dates? Yes. 2 weeks of dating. And what happened? My sister was getting married in Colorado. I flew out for the wedding weekend. Brittany wanted to come. I said it was too soon. We barely knew each other, and it was family only. How did she react? She seemed fine at first, said she understood. But then I stopped responding to texts during the wedding events. My phone was off during the ceremony, reception, family photos. And then, I got home Sunday night. My apartment window was shattered. There was a brick on my living room floor, with a note taped to it, saying, quote, "If you can't handle me at my worst," and all that, signed MM. How much was the damage? Window replacement was $400. I had glass everywhere, ruined my couch, my carpet. Total damage was about $1,800. Did you press charges? I tried, but she'd already blocked me on everything. Changed her number. I couldn't find her. Until now. The prosecutor turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant has a pattern. 3 men, 3 acts of property destruction, 3 notes with the same fake Marilyn Monroe quote to that. This isn't a one-time mistake. This is a pattern of behavior. Britney's lawyer tried to argue emotional distress, temporary insanity. The prosecutor brought in a psychologist who testified that destroying property over text message response times is not insanity. It's entitlement. This is learned behavior, the psychologist explained. The defendant has learned that when she doesn't get what she wants, she can destroy property and justify it with a quote. She's done it 3 times that we know of. Each time, she's faced minimal consequences. Until now. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes, found her guilty. Sentencing was 2 weeks later. The courtroom was packed. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Morrison, looked thoroughly unimpressed. "Miss Walsh, you've been found guilty of criminal damage to property in the 3rd degree. Before I impose sentence, do you have anything to say?" Britney stood. Her lawyer tried to stop her. She stood anyway. "Your Honor, I just want to say that I'm sorry. I made a mistake, but I was provoked. These men ignored me. They made me feel worthless, and like Marilyn Monroe said." "Stop right there," Judge Morrison said. "Your Honor?" "Miss Walsh, I've heard you quote Marilyn Monroe approximately 15 times during this trial, in your testimony, in your police interview, in every statement you've made, so I did some research." She pulled out a printed document. Marilyn Monroe never said that quote. According to multiple fact-checking sources, including Snopes and the Marilyn Monroe estate, that quote first appeared on an anonymous blog in 2011. It was later falsely attributed to Monroe and spread across social media. Britney just stared. But it's everywhere. Everyone says she said it. Everyone is wrong. The Marilyn Monroe estate has specifically stated that Monroe never said or wrote those words. They've spent years trying to correct this misattribution. I don't understand. Miss Walsh, you've built your entire defense around a fake quote. You've justified 3 separate acts of property destruction with a quote that doesn't exist. You've been using a fabrication to excuse criminal behavior. But I have a poster with her face on it, with the quote. Posters can be wrong. T-shirts can be wrong. Wine glasses can be wrong. That doesn't make the quote real. Britney sat down slowly. My whole Instagram is that quote. Perhaps you should reconsider your Instagram. I tried not to laugh. The 2 other victims in the gallery were failing at the same task. Miss Walsh, the court takes into account your history of similar behavior and your complete lack of remorse. Despite being confronted with 3 victims, you've continued to insist they deserved what you did. You've shown no understanding that your actions were wrong. I hereby sentence you to 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation upon release, mandatory anger management counseling, and restitution to all 3 victims for property damage. Britney started crying. This isn't fair. You destroyed 3 people's property because they didn't respond to text messages fast enough. They ignored me. Miss Walsh, the world does not revolve around you. People have jobs, obligations, lives outside of their relationships with you. Your inability to understand this does not give you the right to destroy their property. Marilyn Monroe said. But Marilyn Monroe said, Judge Morrison held up her hand. Stop. I just explained to you that she didn't say it. Continuing to cite a fake quote will not help your case. So everything I believed was a lie? Apparently. My whole personality is based on that quote. Then perhaps you need a new personality. The bailiff tried to escort her out. She was still processing. Wait, so if Marilyn Monroe didn't say it, who did? No one knows, Judge Morrison said. It's an anonymous internet quote that people decided sounded better if they attributed it to a famous actress. So I went to jail for a fake quote? No, you went to jail for destroying property. The fake quote is just embarrassing. I have a tattoo of it. Then you have a permanent reminder to fact check before you commit crimes. They took her away? I got a check for $1,247.82 3 months later. Restitution for the windshield. Insurance had already covered it, so I just deposited the money. Used it to take a trip to San Diego, went to the beach, ate good food, sent a postcard to Dr. Park and Marcus. Thanks for testifying, if you're ever in town. Dr. Park texted back, got my $900, taking my wife to Hawaii. Cheers. Marcus sent a selfie from his new apartment with his replaced window visible in the background. New place, no crazy ex, living the dream. Best $1,247.82 I ever made. Brittany got out after 14 months. Good behavior. Still had probation. I heard through mutual friends she got a job at a call center. Lost most of her friends. Moved back in with her parents. Still quotes Marilyn Monroe on social media, but now people just comment, "Isn't that fake?" And she deletes the posts. One of her former friends sent me a screenshot. Brittany had posted the quote again, on a photo of herself at the beach, looking wistful. Top comment, "That quote is fake, and you went to jail for it. Maybe pick a new aesthetic?" Second comment, "Girl, we've been over this." Third comment, "Marilyn didn't say that and you know it." She deleted the post 10 minutes later. Her mom called me once about 6 months after she got out. "David, this is Susan, Brittany's mom." "Hi, Susan. I just wanted to apologize. I didn't raise her to act like that. I don't know where it came from. It's not your fault. She's been in therapy. The court-mandated anger management actually helped. She's trying. That's good. She wanted me to ask if you'd be willing to talk to her. She wants to apologize properly. I appreciate that, but no, I've moved on. I understand. I'm sorry for all of it. It's okay. Really, I'm dating someone new now. Her name's Amy. She's a teacher, calm, reasonable, doesn't destroy property when I don't text back immediately. Last week I was in a meeting for 3 hours, came out to 6 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. For a second, I panicked. Checked my car in the parking garage. Windshield intact. Checked the tires, intact. Checked for lipstick notes, none. Texted Amy, "Hey, got caught in a meeting. Everything okay?" "All good. Just saw a funny meme and wanted to send it to you. Take your time." That's the difference. We've been together 8 months now. Same amount of time I dated Brittany, but Amy has never once destroyed my property, quoted fake celebrities, made me afraid to check my phone, made me scared to go to work, blamed me for having a job, said I don't deserve her best. Because here's the thing about that quote. Even if Marilyn Monroe had said it, it would still be toxic. If you can't handle me at my worst, implies that your worst is somehow acceptable. That people should tolerate bad behavior because sometimes you're nice. That's not how relationships work. Your worst should be a bad day, a little grumpy, temporarily stressed. Your worst should not be property destruction, abuse, or criminal behavior. And if your worst involves vandalizing someone's car, they don't owe you a chance to show your best. They owe you a police report. Sometimes I wonder if Brittany ever figured out the quote was fake. If she ever realized she destroyed 3 relationships and went to jail over a misattributed Instagram caption. Actually, I don't wonder. I know. Last I heard, she got a tattoo of it. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Right there on her ribs. Permanent. Just like her criminal record. And somewhere in Hollywood, the Marilyn Monroe estate is still trying to get people to stop attributing that quote to their client. Good luck with that.